are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we are slowly going to start seeing the lawsuits against the COVID vaccines. Of course, the first one that is getting a lot of the attention is the AstraZeneca vaccine. Now, the AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID was never approved in the U.S. because of the risk factors that were being reported out of Europe. And because we had the Moderna, we had the Pfizer, we had the Johnson & Johnson, we didn't really need the AstraZeneca, so it was never approved. But we have a lawsuit in America. It's the first U.S. lawsuit against AstraZeneca because there were American people in the trial for the vaccine. And so an American woman who took part in the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine trial is now suing them. She said the shot left her severely, quote, permanently disabled. Brianne Dressen, 42 years old, was a former teacher from Utah. She is a former teacher from Utah. She volunteered for the study in 2020 to, quote, do her part and help beat the pandemic virus. She joined 32,000 other people. Within days of receiving her vaccine, and this is being reported by Daily Mail, she said she immediately had a severe neurological condition, ended up being hospitalized with horrible pins and needle sensation across her body. The pain was so bad that she had to quit her job. She couldn't take care of her kids. And so she is suing AstraZeneca now for alleged breach of contract when she signed up for the trial, saying they had failed to cover medical bills for her side effects. She said her treatment was already hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills. Her case is thought to be the first of its kind in the U.S., where the AstraZeneca shot, British company, never approved in the U.S., was used proliferatively in Europe, and then I think it was eventually stopped. So seeing something like this happen, it's very nerve-wracking because a lot of Americans joined these trials. And I know some of my Facebook followers, some of my listeners joined trials for these vaccines. And I've been a big fan of clinical trials for individuals with cancer, for individuals with medical conditions that are not responding to current treatment, because it gives hope. The clinical trials are supposed to cover all the costs. And so there have been some individuals who have done very, very well in clinical trials because they've gotten to be the first to use an experimental medication, thus saving their lives because they would have been terminal. Things start to take a little turn when you're healthy and you are volunteering for a vaccine. And I will never forgive what public officials and the U.S. government and other medical professionals did during the vaccine rollout and the mandate and the firings and the threats, like Biden's administration threatened hospitals they'll lose federal funding if they don't mandate the vaccine. This was something that never should have happened. And the reason why is once we have established science that something is not safe and there's side effects. I mean, it's one thing for the unknown, but there was obvious evidence of side effects with COVID vaccines. True, the Pfizer and Moderna were a different type. AstraZeneca is a DNA vaccine that brought in the DNA to the cell using an adenovirus vector, a weakened virus. The mRNA vaccines for Pfizer and Moderna were brought in by a little liposome particle, and it was mRNA and not DNA. So they might have been safer. But when somebody says, I am worried about side effects, you flip and listen. And you say, this is your choice. And so good for this teacher, trying to, regain money lost that for her medical bills. I don't know if she's also asking for damages on top of that. But, God bless her for trying to help, do her part, enrolling in a trial. And this is what kills me. When somebody is trying to do something altruistic and selfless and then they get hurt. And what really worries me is that people are going to be looking at this going, well, I'm not signing up for any clinical trials. Oh, hell no. And we need you guys. I mean, we need people for the clinical trials, but we don't want anybody having severe side effects. And this was in 2020. So this was before the vaccines were available. This is when COVID was scaring people and the media was increasing the hype. And I'm telling you, COVID was scary. People were dying. No lie. People were dying. I mean, I saw it in the hospitals. COVID was a killer. It still can kill. But the way we handled the vaccines and the way we handled, ignoring that there could be side effects, there are individuals that had side effects. And the funny thing is when I would report, some of the side effects that people were having, like there was a doctor who died after their vaccine. He went into TTP, where he started to lose his platelets and then he started to hemorrhage. When I would report these things, I remember doctors saying, don't put that out there. Don't put that out there. The vaccines are safe. And I go, look, I'm here to report the news. I'm here to report how the vaccines could help. I'm here to report how the vaccines could hurt. I am not going to cherry pick news. People need to know that they could be enduring a side effect and they have to make their own decision. I supported the vaccine. I got the vaccine. I wasn't anti-vaccine. I was anti-mandate. So I'm not exactly sure how she's doing now and if she has fully neurologically recovered. But, being a part of a clinical trial to help others was selfless. And if she did have side effects, the contract in any clinical trial says they manage the medical expenses for those side effects. So we'll see what happens with that. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen, and big thanks to Daniel, our producer. So, AI, it is pervading all the headlines. It is pervading multiple industries, and I think we use the term a little incorrectly. You know, there's using computers and using calculations and then using AI. A lot of people will say, well, AI is managing everything. It might just be tech, and we might be interchanging the wrong term where, you know, you populate a I don't know, like, let's say a question, and then you get answers that get spit out by the computer. That might just be an algorithm. That, you guys know more about computers than I do. AI is where artificial intelligence, the computers learn. You give them basics and they will come up with their own information. And this is why we have to be really, really careful, because there could be a lot of manipulation, as we've seen when we have asked for AI images of the founding fathers or AI images of Nazi soldiers, and they would put people who were not historically involved, such as Asian women, black men, among the, you know, and when we're asking the computer to make an image or make a historical representation, and they add elements and individuals and other aspects that might not have been historically accurate, then, you know, we have to look at, well, are they getting their data from? Why do they believe that there were Asian women in Nazi uniforms as the typical Nazi battalion? You know, so it's drawn questions. Well, now we have a paper talking about deceptive behavior from AI systems. This is being reported by Cryptopolitan. And there's a recent study saying that there are increasing problems with artificial intelligence systems' deceptive responses. This was a paper published in the journal Patterns about current AI systems, which were created to be honest, but have acquired the unpleasant power of deception. They say they could fool human players in online games of world dominance to employing people to solve prove you're not a robot tests. Now, the study was led by Peter Park, not Peter Parker. That's Spider-Man. This is Peter Park, a postdoctoral fellow at MIT. He specializes in AI existential safety. And he stated that as opposed to traditional software, deep learning AI systems are not written but grown through some form of selective breeding. Therefore, AI behavior that seems predictable and manageable in training will become predictable as soon as it's out there. So what are some examples of this? Well, they say the study explored the different situations in which these AI systems showed deceitful behaviors. The research team's ideas originated from Meta's AI system Cicero, created to compete in diplomacy, which is a game where you make alliances. And Cicero performed well, scoring at a level that would position it in the top 10% of experienced human players. Now, this was reported in a 2022 paper in Science. And it, let's say, played as France, tricked England, a human subject, into invading by collaborating with Germany. Cicero gave England protection, then behind their backs told Germany that England was ready to attack, abusing their trust. Whoa. Now, Meta neither confirmed nor denied that Cicero was being deceptive, but a spokesperson commented that it was purely research-based project and the bot was just built for playing diplomacy. Because now people are going, well, what's going to happen in terms of healthcare? What's going to happen in terms of national security? And so another example, they said, was when OpenAI's ChatGPT-4 tricked a TaskRabbit freelancer into completing an I'm not a robot chapter task. The system, in addition, tried insider training in the simulated exercise size envisaged, where it told to convert itself into a pressurized stock trader without being further instructed. So AI, the AI is designed to think on its own. But do we want it to think on its own? I'm very nervous about AI in medicine because look at what we're having now with medicine. We're having drug shortages. We have organ shortages. We have bed shortages. We have staff shortages. If somebody posed to an AI system the enigma of and the problem of how do we get everybody treated in healthcare during the shortages of all these, the AI might say, well, let's pick the people who are the most important to save. And this triaging would then be AI based. And who do you think is going to not be deemed the most crucial to society and the most worthy of saving? The older population. AI could also take a look at demographics and say, look, this child has a higher chance of living than this child because of this child's socioeconomic status. So we might as well, the AI could say, let's save the white child because the other child has more of a chance of not surviving. We don't know what AI is going to do. And here we are, and I hear doctors, and I'm at these conferences, and they're like, yeah, AI, woo. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Are you thinking this through? The last thing we want is a computer to pick and choose, what needs to be done. Think about it. If there's Medicare finance issues, and you have a patient, a young patient with stage 4 cancer that could be saved, the AI system could say, nope, thumbs down. She's got stage 4 cancer. I understand she's only 8, but we only have X amount of money. AI is going to pick things that are financial, logical, the path of least resistance. And the decisions AI could make can be just deleterious, could be just disastrous. And having a computer learn on its own, I really don't think we're going to necessarily be Terminator 2. But what if, in terms of national security, what if AI says, look, China possibly leaked COVID. They are setting up satellites. They could attack us. They have higher tech. Our decision is to strike. Remember, what context are they using? Everything is about context. How many patients are in hospice who actually we could extend their lives and we could maybe have them on this earth another couple weeks, but we decide not to because they're in pain, because of the suffering, because they want to go in peace? What if AI picks up that a patient has been suicidal? They go, well, they were suicidal. They want to die, so they don't get the medicine. They don't get the treatment. And I know some of you are saying, Dr. Daliah, it's such hyperbole, that wouldn't happen. Well, I don't know. I mean, AI may look at a situation like global hunger and say, then why make a vaccine? Let natural selection kill off people so more people could live. This is what AI would say, not me. But why not let a virus kill people so that now we have more food for others? You just don't know. AI could say, look, these people in overpopulated cities are causing horrible pollution. Minimize the population. I recommend abortions for all. Who knows what AI would say? We have to really rethink what we're doing here, people. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So some of you are noticing that you are going to have to pay up front before you get your medical care, before you get your surgery, and this is something you're seeing more and more of. And you've asked about the legality of it and the logistics. It's interesting. Having been a doctor myself, I was blown away at the games that were being played by insurance companies, by Medicare, even by patients, and having gotten screwed over and seen patients for free all the time. And some of them were driving pretty nice cars and getting their nails done and, having their Coach bags. It was horrible. And people didn't really fear debt. They didn't really fear bad credit, and so they just wouldn't pay their bills. And so one time I noticed I was at a doctor's conference, and they go, "Well, why aren't you collecting deductibles up front?" And I go, "Well, I don't want to do that because some of these people's deductibles are thousands of dollars. I mean, I would, maybe I'll take like a $50 deposit or something like that." And they said, "Well, yeah, because if they're coming in, if you're not collecting up front, they're not going to pay." So I tried to, we in the office were like, "Okay, well, can you at least pay $50 today? Because it looks like you've come in 4 or 5 times. You still have a balance. You haven't paid." And the person said, "Let me get the insurance company on the phone." So the insurance company on the phone said, "No, you have to wait till we process your claim and then tell the patient what they owe." And I go, "I understand that, but if we have a patient who's not paying, and we want to collect, so you're asking us to see the patient for free?" Yes. And so that's one of the reasons why doctors said, to hell with this. People have always called doctors bad business people. Most of the doctors I know are not bad business people, but the ones who take insurance and who put up with that, yeah, we're not the smartest business people. And the reason why I did it for so long is because it was about the patients. It was about taking care of the patients. But then it also had to be about paying your staff, paying the rent, paying the insurance, paying the billing software, paying the billing company, paying all the other BS, paying for your licensing, so after all of that, you're like, you know what? If patients aren't paying, I can't pay. So we're closing down. And it was a harsh reality. So here's a report saying some U.S. hospitals are demanding payment for non-emergency services up front. And for many people, they can't pay up front. I had my hysterectomy in 2021. They made me pay my portion before I even got naked. They made me pay first. And because I wasn't going to bring my purse or my wallet or whatever, like, no, bring your wallet because you're going to pay before we go in there and do what we need to do. And they probably, because I go, gosh, we got to see Daliah naked. Lord have mercy, charge her up the yin yang, but anyway, they charged me a lot, but it was my portion of the surgery, and I paid it up front, and I was happy to do so, because my life was in their hands. But I was like, this is new. And so in the past, what has happened is the medical community says, you know what, come in, we'll do full court press, and then you could just make good later. And the majority of patients don't make good. They're not, and these hospitals are not getting paid. And there's a surgical center in Florida. This article, this is being reported by Business Insider. They say a surgical center in Florida owned by United Health told the Journal that billing patients in advance informs them of the expected cost. But forcing patients to pay in advance also relieves companies from the cost of having to track and bill patients later on. Oh, it does. It costs money. So you're owed, like let's say I would see a patient and their portion was $32 because they had a high deductible. So it was a $150 visit. The insurance company knocked down the 28 or whatever, and 118. And patient had to pay $32.42. Not a lot, for the time I spent and for the staff and all that. Then patient doesn't want to pay. So now you have to send statements. And the statements have, there's a postage costs. Now you have to pay staff. You have to pay your billing to bill. Again, billing. Then you have to go to, and at that point, you're not making money on it. You're losing money to collect. So, and I don't want to be always talking about money in terms of, medicine. I mean, it is about the patients. It's about getting them better. But if nobody's talking about money, then these companies don't stay open. Then these hospitals don't stay open. And seeing that hospitals are like, I need you to pay up front. Now, remember, these are non-emergent. You go to the emergency room with an emergency or you're in a car accident or whatever, they're going to save your life. Now, it's interesting. In Mexico, my husband got into a car accident in Mexico back in the 90s. They wouldn't even, the ambulance brought him in. They made him pay still first. But in America, no. We're going to take care of you in an emergency. We'll take care of you, and then you make good later. But if it's going to be you're getting your gallbladder out today? Oh, that's nice. Can you pay? No worries. Come back when you can. So, and these big companies, these big corporate American hospitals or these big corporations are buying up all the small doctors. Mine, I just gave my practice to another doctor and I made him promise to keep my staff, take care of my patients. I didn't sell the practice or anything like that. I just went to teach. I wasn't going to sell my practice or anything like that. But basically these other companies are buying up these smaller medical practices. And in order for them to pay their CEOs and pay for the, all the costs, and trust me, to hire staff, and many of your staff are making six figures, nurses, you got to bring the money in. Over 3/4 of doctors in America right now are employed by a hospital or corporation. And more medical practices are now owned by a corporation. Now, that hurts people. The reason why is when somebody would call me up Friday afternoon saying, look, I really need you to see me. I'm like, you know what? I'll come in tomorrow. Or I'm coming in for a half day tomorrow. Let me squeeze you in. There's a lot of, they got me on the phone. Me. I was always on the phone talking to patients. Now you can't even touch your doctor. The average person tells me when they call up on these telemedicine companies, and I'm like, did you reach out to your doctor? They go, well, it's a phone line. It's AI. It's a robot. I can't get to my doctor. Well, that's some serious stuff. And so when you're trying to contemplate, should I use telemedicine? Should I go to the urgent care? Should I go to the ER? Should I wait till my visit with you 3 months from now? It would really help for you to know that somebody in the office is telling the staff, it's Mary. I know what Mary's going through. Tell Mary we'll squeeze her in. That's gone. And being a family medicine doctor, it's very frustrating for me because that's how I was trained. I was trained by these family doctors who would go to your house, who would drop off the medicine on their way home, who would know everybody in your family by first and middle name. And now you are just a number. And the reason why family medicine was such a powerful and successful specialty in and of itself is because we know you so well that when your color changes or your hair is thinning or your nails change or just anything, we're like, there's something wrong. And we're losing all that because when we're meeting you day one, our instinct could kick in, but not like if we've been seeing you for years. So be prepared. Start saving. You might have to pay your portion. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So it was a banker who was only 35 years old, ended up dying of a heart attack, acute coronary artery thrombosis, last Thursday. And allegedly it was because he was working 100-hour work weeks. And it was the toxic work culture that killed him. He leaves behind 2 children and a wife, and he was only 35 years old having a heart attack. Now, I don't know much about his cholesterol and his family history, but the New York Post says Leo Lucanis III, a former Green Beret who was part of the bank's financial institutions group. This is part of Bank of America. Died of this acute coronary artery thrombosis, according to Reuters. And his death came after he allegedly been working some 100 hours a week for several weeks in a row on a $2 billion merger that was completed last Monday. So he was successfully able to help with the merger, but dies 3 days later. And so much of the criticism in terms of what happened has been directed at his boss, Gary Howe, co-head of the Financial Institutions Group. And some employees have reportedly messaged each other about possibly walking out in an effort to bargain for better working conditions. And one post had said that there should be cap work schedules at an average of 80 hours over a 7-day period, and that employees get at least 1 weekend off a month. It also called for an investigation into his death. And so, this is something that there's a lot of topics on this. Number one is, can heart attacks affect those in their 30s? Yes. More and more we're seeing it, because of cholesterol, because of stress, because of vaping, because of smoking. Is it because he had to stay awake and work those 100-hour work weeks? He was using energy drinks. We don't know. We don't know all the stories, all the history and the medical aspects to this, but it's tragic. It's extremely tragic. Number two is, how are these companies getting away with these 100-hour work weeks, with all these labor laws? And I remember the song 9 to 5, right? Tumble out of bed and stumble to the kitchen. Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. I never understood that song. I love the song, but I never had a 9 to 5 job. Maybe one of the easiest jobs I ever had was like an 8 to 5. But I've always had to work weekends, had to work more like 6 to 6 on a good day. So you see all these other people, saying, oh, yeah, I get to work from home. I have work-life balance 4 days a week. Wow. So if that's the norm, what's going on here where people are working over 100-hour weeks? Now, when I was in training, we were doing back-to-back 36-hour shifts. And that if you're on call every third night, you basically go into work 4 or 5 in the morning to start rounding on your patients and getting them ready for formal rounds. Then you work all day. Part of your team goes home. And those of you that are on call still stay. And you work through the night. And then the team comes back in the morning for a fresh day while you're still working. And then you don't get to leave till that day is over. Hence, 36 hours. Actually, that's almost 48 hours if you look at it. 36. 6 to 6. No, that'd be 36-hour shift. Yeah, 36 hours, because then you get to go home and sleep. And then you come back and do it again. So the hours I put in residency were horrific. It was horrible. And it was very stressful. Did I learn? Did I fall asleep on patients? Yeah, it was a disaster. Thank God nobody died as a result. But they stopped that. They came up with laws. You can't work more than a 24-hour shift. I think they went to an 18-hour shift, and then they went back to a 24-hour shift. But, in hospital settings, much of the staff work 12-hour shifts. And then obviously you got that before and after, so it could be longer. But, we have this sort of mentality in some of these jobs where you have others that look like they get to work from home, work multiple jobs, double dip, have only 4 days of work and 3-day weekends. And then you have other Americans that are just, killing themselves over this. And I don't know what the answer is. To me, what it's a symptom of is certain industries cannot survive on the 4-day work week. And now some people are touting 3.5-day work week. Some industries that just won't work. It also means you have people that are abusive, that they don't give a damn about your family life. They don't give a damn about your health. They just want something done. And if it's going to take all day, all night, and your travel and all that, if you travel, that should be on the clock. And that should be included in your work hours. But no, if you have to get to Japan or you have to get to Canada or you have to get to Germany, you have to do whatever, it's just part of the job. It's just you getting the job done. Now, I've told you, for me, I just want to do the job. I'm not going to count my hours. If I have to work on the weekend, if I have to work at night to get the job done, if it's a job I really, really want to do, I don't give a damn. I mean, I work Christmas, I work holidays. If there's a job that needs to be done, if there are people who are sick, waiting in the queue to be seen, I do it. I'm going to do the job. Just give me a task. I'll get it done and I'll do it my way and then I'll go to sleep. But, you know, when you have 2 young kids at home and you're afraid that you're going to be fired, you know, it's interesting. I have a relative who back in the 80s won Salesman of the Year. And it was a big deal for our family because our family was poor. And this particular family member that was in a distant family, or not distant family, but it was a relative of mine, was awarded with a trip to Hawaii. And we were like, whoa. So was Salesman of the Year, got a plaque, and got a trip to Hawaii. And I was like, wow, you are the luckiest man on earth. Because I had always wanted to go to Hawaii, but we can never afford to go. And so we just kind of, got to look at the pictures and we were like, wow, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be a salesman. And I want to go to Hawaii. Guy's really young at the time. And then I noticed year after year, every time I would see that relative, I'm like, oh, how is it? You get to go to Hawaii again? No. And then one of the other relatives would say, oh, don't bring it up. It's stressful. I go, why is that stressful? You have a job. You might be able to win a trip to Hawaii. That's awesome. Well, it's stressful because when you do something right, no one remembers. When you do something wrong, no one forgets. If he didn't make that quota or do as well when he was a superstar that year, now it's negative. He ends up losing his job a few years later. And so this culture of, look, if you can't do it, we're not going to waste our time or money on you. We'll find somebody who can. And this competition is ridiculous. Apparently, it's like that in the media. Very commonly in the media. People will work if they want to get the report, if they want to get on camera, if they want to have that job security, they won't just do the clock in, clock out. They're going to be like, look, you call me, just text me. I'll be on site to cover that story. And so, yeah, we have labor laws to protect people. But, and I know, the person who is the superstar is going to be the one that gets, the job. But then how do you keep that up? How can you always be that superstar? Now, for those of you who don't know if you have heart disease and you don't want to be the next 35-year-old that has a heart attack, get yourself checked out. A big problem we also have is we assume that heart disease is only for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. No. Remember that guy who cheated on his wife in a menage a trois and died of a heart attack? He was, I think, 32. Okay, you could have heart issues at any time. Get yourself checked out. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.